Dave Birkett here with Shawn Windsor and Carlos Monarrez. And guys, we got a little different format for our post-game videos this year. Due to social distancing, we're not at the stadium. We're shooting this a day later from our comfortable homes. And I guess we've had a little bit of time to digest what happened yesterday at Ford Field. The Lions, of course, blow a fourth quarter lead, lose to the Chicago Bears 27-23. And Shawn, let me just start with you, as the senior sage of this group right here. What to make of that loss? I mean, it's one game, right? One of 16. So we don't want to say this ends the season, but it's still got to be pretty heartbreaking for everyone out there, Lions players and coaches included, to lose a game the way they did.
Well, I don't know if I'm a sage about anything. I thought you'd start with Carlos because he has a window as he's waiting for breakfast in bed there. As you can see, I don't know if he likes his eggs sunny side or scrambled or probably over easy.
He used to like them scrambled. Now he likes them sunny side up. He's changed.
Does he? Okay, yeah, he has, right. I mean, there's actually a headline today, Dave. We were just talking about this. There's a headline out there. Hopefully people are reading it, where Carlos wanted to punch his laptop. He was so, what's the word, Carlos? Stunned, angry, upset, crestfallen. That what unfolded yesterday, especially when I guess DeAndre Swift dropped the touchdown pass. We don't want to pick on poor DeAndre Swift, though. Dave, I'm with you. It's funny. I wrote my initial column, which is kind of, oh my goodness, these poor folks who love this team, who pass this love from generation to generation. They didn't even get to wait a week, right? It's right out of the gate, and it's not just a loss, and it's not even just a comeback loss. Blowing the 21-point lead in the fourth quarter. It's that the win was literally right there in the gut, right? And then you just turn, and there that ball goes, and that's just a beautiful, sad metaphor for Detroit. I'm with you, though, Dave. I think I want to say it's just one game. I really do. They had a stretch here yesterday against a decent defense without their best receiver where they looked okay. So, are they going to beat Green Bay? Probably not. Arizona went in and beat San Francisco yesterday. They're going to beat them? Probably not. They can sneak maybe one of those two, and then maybe they can stun the Saints the following week. That you remember they played Kansas City well last year. I know this is all a pipe dream. I'm desperate to try to find these poor folks some kind of hope, my man.
All right, from one Matt Patricia supporter to another, Carlos, are you coming up with the same thing? I mean, I forgot that you guys are like family members. I forgot from last year.
No. I'm not supporting Matt Patricia. I'm thinking of the pain out there in our region. These poor people, they don't deserve this. Come on, Dave. Don't wish them ill.
I'm not wishing them ill. I think, look, it is 1 week. It is one game. I think that's everything you said is 100% true. But, there's still a lot of blame to go around. That final 6 minutes was 6 awful minutes of football. You drop a touchdown pass, you miss a field goal, you throw an interception that you're trying to squeeze in between two defenders, you take a sack you shouldn't have, you have an offsides penalty, a questionable call to even go for the field goal in the first place. I think there were a lot of mistakes there in that last 6 minutes. But Carlos, I'm gonna turn the floor over to you here. I don't know, how do you still coming away feeling pretty bubbly about this season right now?
Oh yeah, 15-1. It'll be fine. No, you know what? First of all, let me just clarify this, okay? It's not sunny side up. It would be huevos rancheros, okay? I know, Shawn, I'll make you some. Dave, I think I'd give you nightmares if you ever tasted them. So I'm not.
No, way too much flavor for Dave. You can't handle it.
Way too much. It's got salt in it. It's too spicy. But no, let me ask you, Dave. This is you went through the litany of all the problems. If there's one thing other than Swift dropping the catch, if there's one thing that you think the Lions could have changed, one moment in that game that may have made the difference, because let's face it, you went through that litany, but if Swift holds on, if he just falls into the end zone holding that ball, then it's like, wow, look at the Lions. They faced adversity and they overcame it and they stuck with it. That'd be the narrative.
It wouldn't. It would be like these Lions got lucky against against a less than mediocre Bears team with Mitch Trubisky at quarterback, who they somehow let back in the game after they had a 17-point fourth quarter lead. And
it would be. It was going to be. The narrative would have been that it was going to be Samuel Lions, but they saved themselves. They've learned their lessons. This wasn't Arizona last year. So what would it be for you if there was something they could have changed punting instead of a 55-yarder? What would it be?
Yeah, I think that sequence, I don't know if it's one play, but I think that sequence, right? Stafford doesn't take a sack. All of a sudden they're not in, 3rd and 17 or whatever it was. And then, they're not backed up to have to try a 55-yard field goal where Patricia has to make that sort of decision. And then, I was sitting up where the cool kids sit in the top level of the press box yesterday. And as soon as that happened, Justin Rogers turned to me and he said, you punt here, right? Just because it's a 55-yard field goal and it's Mitch Trubisky at quarterback. And it was one of those things like 4 minutes left, pinned him deep. So I think that sequence right there of the sack, going for the field goal, missed field goal. I don't know that there's one play, but that sequence is what I really think.
Let me ask you guys, my memory's a little fuzzy. Was the sack on 2nd or 3rd down?
Sack was on 2nd down, and then
that's what I thought. So one thing that's lost in it, because to me that was I know the Patricia decision to kick the field goal was problematic. Obviously, didn't work. But the sack, Stafford's been around too long, and he's too good for that. To me, that's worse than the interception, where you're just kind of trying to make a play and it bounces up. There were quarterbacks in every city that threw interceptions yesterday. That's fine. And he talked about that he should have thrown that away, but that was 2nd down. If he throws it away, you can still pick the first up there. So forget the punt and defense. They might have been able to score a touchdown there, right? And that's kind of getting lost. I don't know if they would have, but to me, when that happened and the Carlos was sitting 8 feet away, normally would look over and say, okay. I had a bad feeling when he took that sack. It just felt like here goes, right?
I don't have this quote in front of me, and I apologize. I can't minimize the window on Zoom to get it, but I wrote this. I alluded to it in the Grays, and I wrote it in my Inside the Lions column this morning. It should be up on freak.com here at some point this afternoon. Kurt Warner, talking to him 2 weeks ago, right? NFL Network, Hall of Fame quarterback. Asked him about Stafford. I said, hey, what do you think Stafford can do this season? Do you think this is a year that maybe he finally leads the Lions to some success? And he was like, look, Stafford is more talented than just about every NFL quarterback out there, right? Has some really great moments, great games. But the one thing he said is that Stafford has ultimately been conditioned to put too much on his shoulders and force these plays, because after 12 years of not having a running game and not having a defense and not always having receivers, he's been asked to do so much. And that quote just ran through my head yesterday, that those were 2 moments, both of them, where he should have thrown the ball away, right? He should not have taken that sack, but he's trying to make a play because as he looks around him, he doesn't have Galladay. His defense is starting to crumble. He just feels the need to have to make this play. And then same thing on the next drive when he tries to squeeze that pass in between 2 defenders. He set up after the game that he wanted that ball back. And I think that was just 2 of those things that Kurt Warner was talking about. And I don't know if that, can be conditioned out of him now. Look, Adrian Peterson gave them a little bit of a running game. DeAndre Swift, I think he's going to be a really good player. Galladay comes back and all of a sudden this offense I think it's still going to be a really good offense. Defense still has some question marks, but to me, that was a case of Stafford just trying to, once again, do a little too much. And maybe, like Warner said, because so much has been asked of him for so long to carry this team.
No, that's a great point. Hey, Carlos, to me, another thing that got lost in this is Swift dropped it, but he got open, right? When the Bears are trying to squeeze it there, right? And they're playing the end zone because there's no time left, and he still got open. Right? If he catches that, that's another thing we're thinking about. Wow, because we knew, we didn't know, because Dave was probably watching film when Swift was a sophomore at Georgia. But Carlos and I, we were relying on other scouts, right? We don't scout ourselves so much, maybe. But he came in, right, Dave, with a reputation as somebody who could run routes and had soft hands. So that was kind of a fluke, I would say.
Well, you know what? I don't buy this Kurt Warner. Kurt Warner is a quarterback apologist. Let's just be honest here. Stafford trying to do too much himself. He's had amazing defenses. They've, added pieces. They've drafted running backs in the 2nd round, 2 out of 3 years. They've added Adrian Peterson. Quarterbacks have to do a lot. They have to be, pocket aware. They have to be situationally aware. They're going to make mistakes. Nobody expects Stafford to be perfect. And he threw a great ball to Swift. They should have won that game. That game really was won. But, I just don't buy this that, they've asked him to do too much. You and I, Dave, we've talked about this a lot. And you and I know, Calvin Johnson was running free in Dallas, right across the field, and he looked for the PI to Brandon Pettigrew, who was being face guarded.
No.
That's one of the big reasons they lost.
Look for the PI to Brandon Pettigrew. If you go back and read my story, I'm going to dig it up for you, freak.com. Make sure everyone out there checks it out. I talked to sat down with Matthew Stafford with an iPad with video of the game. And
I know.
No, why we threw that was because that's where the play goes in practice. Right. And that's what Scott Linehan said every single time in practice. That's where it's designed to go. Right. And you're right. Kelvin was running, free, running on that crosser. But when he's the third option and you think you have Pettigrew open, that's who you throw the ball to. So his eyes don't automatically go.
He's the greatest receiver in Lions history, running free.
No, I'm just explaining why he threw it. I'm not saying that was the right move. He wasn't trying to draw a PI. That's where the play was going.
Right. I think that there's just, I think Stafford's a really good quarterback. I think he's capable. He's smart. He's durable. He ran a little too much for my taste yesterday, possibly, getting hurt. Took some chances he shouldn't have. And that's where I want him to be smarter. I think that there were a lot of cases. I don't think this was on Stafford at all. But I just disagree that the Lions, that it's been put upon him that, hey, Matthew Stafford has to carry us. That's it. We're not going to draft running backs. We're not going to draft tight ends.
Well,
we're not going to,
drafting running backs and drafting tight ends doesn't mean that they're any good. They haven't had a 1,000-yard rusher. They've had one in his tenure, obviously. Your boy,
and they've had one good defense, Carlos. I'm gonna be with Dave here. I know you're Patricia's guy now, and maybe he's frustrated, but with his quarterback, although I doubt it. But they've had one good defense, right? I mean, one really good defense. Out of how many years?
Yeah, 12.
For sure. No, you're right. Stafford's not perfect, but he made the plays. Despite the mistakes, he still made the plays to win the game.
Yeah, for sure.
He did.
But I don't think. I mean, last year, what do they finish in defense? What was it? 2 years ago, was it 10th in yards? I mean, they haven't had completely horrible defenses. They haven't had. They've had good kickers.
Terrible in defense the last 2 years. What Lions have you been watching?
What was it that they were finished? They finished 10th in, was it against the run? I don't know. They had a top 10 stat against the run, I think, a couple of years ago.
Okay, and they're giving up 400 yards through the year. But go ahead.
When Snacks came back, right? Or when they got Snacks. Anyway.
For half a season, they were mediocre. You're right.
Yeah. I mean, I think that he, I don't want to turn this into a whole Stafford discussion, right? But, Eric Ebron's trash. He goes to Indianapolis and he's a Pro Bowler. Like, why does that happen? That kind of stuff. I mean, they've tried to give him help, and it always sounds with Stafford like he needs 3 Pro Bowl receivers, an All-Pro running back, and 2 All-Pro, possibly Hall of Fame tackles to make that offense work. It's just year after year, and the offense does well. He does well with the offense. It's just in these crucial moments, sometimes, they don't have enough. And this is why I was going to punch the laptop, because it seemed like they did everything right. I mean, Adrian Peterson, he 93 yards, right? I mean, off the street, no time to practice. And gave me the ball. He made great runs. I just couldn't believe that this was happening. And it's Mitchell Trubisky, yet again.
Let me ask you guys this idea that, the mistakes were made, but they get the lead. They're up 21 in the fourth quarter, and they back off a little bit. A lot of people that love this team, a lot of fans, have that sense, right? That it goes back to even last year that they were getting conservative. That's the MO of Patricia. What do y'all think of that idea? Is that just baked into NFL coaching culture, or is it specific to Patricia? What do you guys think?
Last year I thought they were a little too conservative late. I thought that was one of Darrell Bevell's faults, that maybe they would get off to these really good starts and he would take these shots downfield and he would, keep his foot on the gas. But then the fourth quarter, they would get a little too conservative too early for my liking. I didn't really sense that to be the case yesterday. I mean, again, the one drive that ended with the field goal, we're talking about that on a second down because he took a sack, right? They were trying to be aggressive, and
right.
You have to balance that with running the ball. And I think Adrian Peterson, great Lions debut there. You'd like to keep him involved in the fourth quarter, and you want to make sure you think that he's the type of guy that can get yards. He's averaging 4 or 5 yards a carry, so you want to keep feeding him the ball. But I didn't get the sense that was the case yesterday. I didn't think so, at least. I don't know how Carlos feels about that, but I certainly found a little bit of fault with him doing that last year.
I think it got a little bit more conservative, and I think you're right, Shawn. It's kind of baked into NFL. This is why games are always close, or usually close in the NFL, because once you have a lead, you run the ball, they load the box up, and then it's 3 and out. Maybe you get so it's kind of a perfectly designed game in that way to always have close games. But yeah, I think they did try to keep passing. They were conservatively aggressive, I guess, is what you could kind of say, and Prater giving him a chance. Patricia loves Matt Prater, and he's been kicking well. And we see Prater kick 60-yarders like it's nothing in practice. So, to give him a chance for a 55-yarder, he made all 3 field goals at that point, right? So, so let's give him a shot, nail in the coffin, and it just didn't work.
I'll say this: the one coaching decision early in the fourth quarter that I wasn't a fan of when we're talking about this, play calling dynamic and being too conservative was, I think it was after the first touchdown drive by the Bears. The Lions came out and they did run the ball a couple times in that series, but it was Kerryon Johnson running the ball, and it should have been Adrian Peterson. And I don't, I didn't go back and watch the film yet to see what happened on those runs exactly, but look. Kerryon played like a series to start each half, and he wasn't that effective. In AP, Carlos, as you said, he ran for 90 yards, his debut. He's the guy that should have been out there at that time. I understand playing Swift late because he's your receiving back, and he's going to be a dynamic player in time, I think. But AP is the guy that should have been out there early in the fourth quarter when the Lions did.
And why do you think he was out there or not AP?
Well, I assume it's because, look, when Adrian Peterson is there for 3 days of practice, he only has parts of the playbook in, right? So, I don't know that they were in their 4-minute offense at that time. I don't think so. Again, I have to go back and watch the tape to kind of see the dynamic of it, but maybe it was just that part of the offense of the game plan was designed for Kerryon, and that's why he was there. But to me, that's a sense thing, right? When you have a guy like Adrian Peterson who's running really well, who's a veteran, right? It's not like this is some rookie that's going to be blinded by the big lights in the stage of a fourth quarter close game. I mean, this is a future Hall of Famer we're talking about. I want to see him on the field getting the ball.
Go ahead, Carlos. Sorry.
I think, to me, it felt like a little bit when he was running and Kerryon was just not very effective. He got kind of almost arm tackled on that series. And it's like I told Shawn, AP is not getting arm tackled on that run. It felt almost like, okay, we're up, whatever it was at that point, 10 points or something. And like, well, let's give it to Kerryon because let's face it, they like him. He's a good soldier. We're up by enough. It's kind of almost a political move to me. It felt like, I hope it's not. But at that point, it's like, man, AP's the horse. He's getting it done. Let's not even fool around with this. And I understand, you want to limit the miles on all your running backs as much as you can. And if you have a big lead, it does make sense. But you could kind of see the ineffectiveness of Kerryon there. They're loading up the box and everything. So you're right. I would have liked to have seen AP close it out. Like, let's not even leave a doubt there. If you're up, yeah, it's like the last series or 2 series, you're up 20 points. There's 3 minutes left. Yeah, throw Kerryon in there. Throw whoever you want, But at that point, you're at the beginning of the fourth quarter. Like, don't even let the door crack open a little.
All right, so let's spin this forward. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Shawn.
No, I was going to do the same. I wanted to ask you guys, about the season. Is this? Can you still get the 9-7? Because I think you both predicted that. Before we talk about that, I just wanted to ask you, Carlos. I noticed nothing on Dave's walls. Maybe 2 rooms back, there's something hanging up. Is that the same kind of brain process where we're not salting our food? In other words, we just want everything bare and spare.
My kids, they're on this wall.
Is that what's going on there, Carlos?
Set up. I've got a window right here, right? These doors behind me, right? This wall right now is pretty blank, but I do have pictures of the kids right
Okay. I just was curious. I'm just,
No. This is, Shawn, you're right. It's on brand. It's white walls, white furnishings, white. This is on brand for Baber.
Next week, I'm gonna turn around. I'm just gonna hold the laptop.
Okay.
That way I can get kids.
No, so big picture. So what do you get? Can they still get the 9-7 after yesterday?
Carlos, go ahead. I don't. You probably have them going 11-5 now, but go ahead. I want to hear your reasons first. So.
Yeah, for sure. And you know what? My big takeaway was this: is nobody wants to hear about moral victories or whatever, but the Lions were down 3 starters on their defense. midway through that game pretty much, right? With
Robert
Coleman.
had a real good game for the Bears too.
Well, Desmond Trufant, and you're not even talking about. I'm not even talking about Kenny Golladay, but just going in there, you got 3 guys. They're out,
Right.
So
Injuries were back in the secondary.
That helped. That helped Trubisky work his weird Trubisky magic. So I'm not. I don't see this game as like let's sound the alarms. They were out of this game completely. I'm definitely concerned about that Green Bay game when they scored 43 on the Vikings, but I think 9-7 is definitely still possible for sure.
Yeah, look, I mean, as we talk about sort of spinning this forward, I mean, I came away with, I don't know, I seem to say this, occasionally at the start of seasons, no matter what happens, is that, the Lions kind of are who we thought they were to, a certain extent. Like the defense was, even though they held the Bears to 2 field goals, really through the first 3 quarters, I wasn't particularly impressed with the Lions defense. Still not getting any pressure on the opposing quarterbacks. They've given up a lot of yards. It looked like Trubisky, being the mediocre Mitch that he is, kind of shot himself in the foot a couple times and really missed on some plays. So I was not impressed with their defense. The offense, even though they had their own problems, right? 3 and outs in the first 5 drives and stalled in the red zone a couple times. I still came away thinking like this offense is going to be really good when Galladay's here, because think about it, Quintez Cephas, I think he had 10 balls thrown his way. He caught 3 of them. Him and Stafford just weren't in sync yesterday, right? I mean, Peterson with the running game, that seemed to give me a little bit of a confidence boost in what this offense can be. And the fact that they protected Matthew Stafford fairly well up front made me think again that when Galladay is back, this offense is going to be good. Now, the flip side is, and I know we've talked about this before, this is not an easy, road coming up for this team before the bye. I mean, at Green Bay, Cardinals are sort of the it team right now. I mean, that's, and the Lions that's been a house of horrors for them down in Arizona. And then you come home before the bye and you get probably the best team in the NFC in the New Orleans Saints. So I know when I was doing my preseason predictions, I said that Saints game seems to me like one that the Lions can win, just because everybody counts them out. And then they play a great game like they did against the Patriots 2 years ago and the Chiefs last year. So, one loss, as heartbreaking as it is, does not ruin the season yet, but you're behind the 8 ball, no doubt. And it's a tough road ahead if you're going to get to, reach your goals. And if, for that matter, if you're Patricia and Bob Quinn, if you're going to save your jobs for 2021.
Do you think that they win one of these next 2 games, either one of you?
I think they have to. I mean, yeah.
I do too, but yeah.
It's just tough to, I mean, if I'm looking at the odds are probably, Green Bay's going to be favored to win that, and Arizona's going to be favored to win that, and New Orleans is going to be favored to win that. But it's just the way the NFL works, that doesn't always play out, according to numbers. So, yeah, I do think the Lions win one of these next 2 games. But, Carlos, you're right about the secondary. And I will grant that was an issue yesterday, the injuries that they had. Losing somebody in game is different than not having them going into the week. And you're about to face the 3 best quarterbacks on your schedule, and you're going to have maybe Jeff Okudah at one cornerback position, who's, he's a really talented guy, but probably not quite ready yet. And then Amani at the other one, and, who knows? I mean, Tony McRae, Darrell Roberts, whatever that collection of cornerbacks is, that's not good when you're going up against Michael Thomas and Devontae Adams and, DeAndre Hopkins and the quarterbacks you're facing. So, the Lions are, they're in a bit of a hole right now, and they really need a good week or 2 here to make that happen.
Yeah, I think that I'm not too
By the way,
concerned.
new rule on our videos. Next time Sean's son comes into the room, you have to introduce him to us, okay?
Okay.
All right.
He was trying to sneak
Not us,
past.
introduce him to the crowd.
He was trying to sneak past there, wasn't he?
Sorry, my kids do it all the time.
Well, it's the time of COVID, so universities are in our homes, right? Basically. Hey, that's Sam, everybody. He's walking by trying not to get noticed.
There we see Carlos. We got Sam from you. Carlos has his parakeet that chirps during some of our Zoom sessions. And next time my kids come running down the stairs, they're not here right now. They're out at school, but next time they do it, we'll have them stop by and say hi.
Well, let me ask you this, guy. With
ask Sam a question while he's on camera now.
Sam, come here. Come here, Sam. Carlos has a question for you about the game. What game? The Lions game. Ask away, Carlos.
Sam, is your dad generally right or wrong about the Lions?
Well, it depends on what he's writing about, but probably wrong.
Good answer. We approve of that one.
Is that the answer you wanted?
He's very interesting. Yes, I totally agree with Sam.
All right.
All right.
Sam Windsor joining us here.
Yeah. Bye, Sam.
See you guys.
All right, let's wrap this up.
The last thing I wanted to ask you guys this is just after yesterday, are you more encouraged or less encouraged about this team after we saw them in the first game of the year?
They're 0-1. You have to be less encouraged. They lost. They blew a big lead. How can you be more encouraged?
Well, there were a lot of questions, but about the defense and the offense and whatever. So you're less encouraged after everything in totality.
Me and the rest of Detroit, yes.
Okay. What about you, Shawn?
I actually think if we're going to judge in the context of this regime, the Quinn Patricia regime, they look better than yesterday than I think they really have in the last couple of years. I'm with you, Dave. I think they have the chance to have the best offense that they've had in the last 3 years. That's indisputable, right? And as Carlos says, if Swift catches the pass, they win, and this narrative is completely different. I think I don't know if I'm going to say they're going to be explosive, but they're going to be really good offensively. They got the chance to be. And you saw that for stretches. The defense is obviously an issue. They can't they have trouble. You mentioned pressuring the quarterback. They struggle with the stop on the run too, right? So the interior's got to get a little bit better. They're going to give up some yards. They did this. Patricia's defenses did this in New England. If they can be opportunistic here and there and score those points, then yeah, you can see your way to 8-9 wins. So in some way, they kind of, you said they are what they thought we thought they were. I think they are, and maybe an okay way, even though it was a crushing loss.
How about you, Carlos? Mr.
I'm a little more encouraged because I think T.J. Hawkinson had a pretty good game. They didn't have Vaitai, and Khalil Mack didn't sack Stafford 10 times, and they added the protection. They chipped over there a lot, but still. And they didn't have Kenny Golladay, so they lose the three defenders. I mean, I think they should have won that game, and the Bears are not an amazing team or anything, but I didn't have any glaring. I mean, the run defense is what I thought it was going to be. There was really not that much improvement inside on the tackle position. That's going to be a problem. But otherwise, if they have the players that they were hoping to have in that game throughout the whole game, in the secondary, Jamie Collins, I think they win this game, so I don't have any major concerns with this team after this game. I feel like there's more. I really liked what AP did. I liked what Hawkinson did. If they get Kenny Golladay back sometime soon, that should bode well for them.
No major concerns. You heard it. They just blew a 17-point fourth quarter lead, lost to a below average Chicago Bears team with one of the most mediocre quarterbacks in the NFL. Carlos, no concerns.
Well, they're going to be 0-4 in a month, but other than that, right?
All right, let's leave it there because I did get the 10-minute warning that our video is going to end here soon. So that'll do it for us. Again, appreciate everyone joining us here on I was about to say Facebook Live, but just on freak.com now. And we'll probably do another one of these next week or going forward. We'll make these a fairly regular occurrence for us here on Zoom. That'll do it for Shawn Windsor, Carlos Monarrez. I'm Dave Birkett, freak.com.